Long ago, in a peaceful Japanese village, there lived an old, childless couple. The man spent his days working hard in the mountains, gathering firewood, while his wife stayed back to wash clothes in the local river. One morning, as she was working at the riverbank, she noticed something highly unusual drifting toward her in the current. It was a massive, beautiful peach. Hoping for a great meal, she pulled it from the water and carried it home. But when her husband returned and they placed down the table to cut it open, the peach suddenly cracked apart. Out from inside the fruit appeared a healthy baby boy. They named him Momotaro, or Peach Boy. He matured remarkably fast, growing into a highly intelligent and brave young man. He gathered wood for his father, maintained the house with his mother, and treated everyone with deep respect. The locals recognized him as the strongest youth in their village. Yet he remained humble, dedicating his time and strength entirely to helping the weaker members of his community. That community, however, was living under a dark cloud. Far across the sea sat Onigashima, an island fortress populated by terrifying supernatural creatures known as Oni. This map illustrates the systemic nature of the Oni raids. They sailed to the mainland regularly, siphoning wealth, food, precious treasures, and clothing away from the coastal villages and funneling it all back to their island. The locals were completely outmatched. The Oni were large, fierce, and armed with massive clubs. The human population could do nothing but endure the suffering. Momotaro saw this suffering and made a choice. He told his parents he was leaving home to cross the sea, defeat the Oni, and recover the stolen resources. This infographic illustrates the scale of the challenge. On one side, a single youth. On the other, a fortified island of giants. This disparity is why a direct frontal assault would be a one-way trip. Recognizing the danger, Momotaro's parents eventually agreed to let him go. Before he departed, his mother packed him a special supply of kibidongo, delicious millet dumplings meant to give him strength on his journey. Momotaro did not hoard these rations for himself. As he traveled, he used the dumplings as a diplomatic tool, offering them to anyone willing to align with his mission and share the risk. On this radar chart, his recruitment strategy emerges. First, the dog spikes the team's brute force. Next, a monkey adds high agility and climbing. Finally, a pheasant fills out the roster with aerial speed and reconnaissance. He left home alone, but by the time he reached the coast, Momotaro had deliberately built a highly specialized complementary tactical strike team. The four companions crossed the sea and reached Onigashima. They were immediately met by massive fortress walls and heavily guarded gates. Momotaro initiated Phase 1. He deployed the pheasant to fly rapidly over the fortress walls, pulling the guards' attention straight up into the sky. With the guards distracted, the monkey executed Phase 2. Using his agility, he scaled the massive exterior wall, dropped inside, and unlocked the heavy main gates. Phase 3 began instantly. Momotaro and the dog rushed through the open entrance, catching the Oni completely off guard as the battle commenced. The Oni soldiers fell back, but then their chief appeared. He was a terrifying giant armed with a massive iron club. He struck the ground, shaking the fortress and creating a dangerous bottleneck for the strike team. Momotaro didn't fight him in a one-on-one duel. The dog clamped his leg, the monkey leaped aboard, the pheasant dive-bombed above, attacking from 3 distinct vectors at once. Confused and disoriented, the giant finally dropped his guard. Momotaro struck hard, instantly dropping the chief to his knees. The strongest enemy in the region was beaten by the synchronized application of diverse tactics. The Oni chief raised his hands in absolute surrender. He swore a binding promise to Momotaro that his forces would never again attack innocent people or steal their property. Moving deeper into the fortress, the team discovered the enormous vaults. They systematically loaded up all the stolen gold, jewels, silk, and food onto their ship. The companions sailed back to Japan to an astonished crowd. They returned the mountains of stolen possessions directly to the helpless villagers who had suffered for so long. The mission succeeded because it focused on restoration. Victory wasn't found in the destruction of the fortress, but in the return of the food, gold, and safety the villagers had lost. Momotaro returned to his parents and lived happily and peacefully, eventually cementing his place as one of Japan's most famous folk heroes. His status as a folk hero is actually unrelated to his magical origins. His legacy is built on the specific choice to use his strength for others and the self-awareness to admit he needed a team to succeed. Facing down impossible odds rarely yields to solitary power. True victory requires the courage to unite diverse talents and the humility to rely on the friends who stand beside you.